Here, so I cleaned up the calculator, took this all apart, scrubbed the deck board, cleaned the buttons. I was able to get these numbers polished up. I even cleaned out all the white lettering inside, so I got that cleaned up. I went through, cleaned every one of the digits by hand. So if I roll these through, you can see they're all white now, which is awesome. I went through and polished up all the hardware. So all the screws and everything on here have all been polished. One thing I discovered, this case, someone repainted it at some point in the past, and they painted right over the logo where it says Monroe on the front. So I'm going to try to strip this all down and try to match this amazing, there's like a crackle finish on here. So I'm going to try to replicate that on this chassis. Why someone did that, I have no idea, but I'm going to make sure we do that, and I'll wire wheel this knob. But I did everything but the chassis at this point. Oiled everything, got it working really nice. So some of the basics, the things that still work. So I can do 1 plus 1 and get 2. Actually reset it, so clear that. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So that's, nothing's changed there. I fixed this little knob on here, and this is what's used to lift and slide your places. So you can do it manually quickly over to one side, or you can use the little lever down here to advance it over. So I did learn recently how to do multiplication. So let's say I want to do 1, 2, 3 times 123. So what I'll do is I'll put remember on, and if you watch up here, I'm going to do this 3 times, and then I'm going to advance 1 over. I'm going to do it 2, then go over and do 1. So I now took 123 times 123, and I got 15,129 as my result, because you have to do the tens manually as you go forward. I thought that was really cool. So you've already seen the other videos for the other cool stuff, but I know you want to see division. So division, you go all the way over to this side like so. Make sure you're in that position. And then your decimal place. I've learned this little pin here is where you set your decimal, and then there's a little slider here. So I slide that over to represent my decimal place. So this is where my decimal place can be for my divisor. And for this one, I'm going to enter in the first number, which I'm just going to do all ones, like so. And that gets entered in, as you see. I'm clearing the counter to go to 0, because that's where our remainder is going to end up. And I'm going to divide this whole thing by 9. And I'm going to hit go. And you can see our result there is 0.1234567. That's just a cool one to do. And it works, which is awesome. And you can watch it as it chugs through here, calculating the remainder, and when it gets an overrun, it goes back and then add increments on the counter here to give the result. So it is an automated subtraction system, which is really cool. One thing I also learned too that's really fun is you could set how many decimal places you want. So let's say, for example, we'll put it in the middle here, and we'll clear this all out. Let's say I am doing 8 divided by 2. So you see I did a bunch of extra steps there because it's just 4 with extra places. Well, what you can do is set your decimal place. So we're just going to go over one place because we know there's only going to be one decimal place. So I'm going to slide my decimal indicator over to this bar here, like so. And then now I'm going to put in 8, and we're going to divide that by 2. There we go, we get 4.0. And it works for longer decimals too. So let's say I want to do that calculation I did before. So what we're going to do is make sure we're all clear, and we're going to do all of our ones like so. And we're again going to divide that by 9. And see how we got 0.12, or well, I forgot to do my decimal place, but yeah, 0.12 on that one. So you could select how many decimal places you want. It knows where to stop. You can even do run on infinite return on your decimals. It will know when to stop when it gets to the end there, which is really cool. I can't remember off of any of those off the top of my head. I think one of them, let's see here, 1 and 1. We're going to enter that one in. Sorry, I'm losing track here. And we're going to divide that by 7. And let's go ahead and run it. So we get our longer decimal place. So there's one more thing we can do that is kind of fun while I have you here. And it's called the Frieden March, because there was a calculator company called Frieden who made a much larger automatic calculator. And there was a certain calculation you could do that actually made it sound like it was marching. I have limited capacity on how many spaces I have in this one, so it's not as cool. But we're going to make sure we're fully reset here. And we're going to do 555 11155. and we're going to enter that in. We're going to clear the counter, and we're going to divide that by 1. Sorry, I'm trying to look around here, and go. That's the freedom march. Again, with the bigger calculator, you actually get the chugga 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 chugga. It goes a lot faster and it sounds cooler, but that's my mini version. Because again, from what I dated on this one is a 1940s model, but it's a number 1. So it's a very early on in that model. So it's the first generation of that series. I learned some other things. This 0 is not original. Normally it'd be a much larger red one. And the divide key should be a red pointy button for sliding front to back, not this little rocky button they have on there. So it's not entirely accurate. I also found that someone cut some of the sheet metal out of the back here for some reason. I think they were trying to diagnose why the division wasn't working. I found out the rod that actually runs this, pivot here was bent. So I straightened that, polished it, took the grooves off, re-oiled it. So I got that moving nice and free now, which seems to work really well, as you can see, for division. I cleaned up all of these rods inside too, so they're all, well, as pretty as they can be given their age, because obviously I didn't repaint them. But make sure you guys stay tuned to see the rest of the restoration process. Once I get the crackle finish put on here, I think it's going to look gorgeous. And it's just amazing that it's fully functional 70 some odd years later. So thanks for watching.